Mr. J. Khan.
Thanks for having me, Fernando.
The person, the brain, the creativity behind Koa Shanghai, Savory Project, and many other things that for sure I don't know. He's almost as tall as I am. So I don't want to stir any competition, but let's say the last guest that was there, you just need to go back in the chronology. We don't want to harm any feelings. He was a little bit shorter. No, Jay. I'm always thankful for people that come to the podcast. That goes without saying, especially when people accept to come to a project. It's still in the early stages, despite the fact that, again, as I was saying before, this is episode number 50 or so that I have done. I'm always very thankful. But you were especially open to come and talk and communicate. And I've seen that you've done many podcasts before. Is this an attitude that you have because you understand that this is a very good way to communicate, or you're just a super cool, chill person?
First of all, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. I think it's a privilege, to be invited to a podcast and talk about yourself. I don't think everybody get a chance to do that. So for me, when somebody reach out to me and say, hey, we want you to be on the podcast, for me, it's like a privilege. So I can't say no. Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. This podcast is about talking to people that live within the creative realm, that have any activity that requires putting a lot of what they have inside to it. But I enjoy especially talking to people that work in F&B, because I'm spending less and less time in bars and restaurants, unfortunately, or fortunately. And then with you, I'm even more envious because you just were in Madrid. I'm from Spain. And then I ask you, how was Madrid? And how was Madrid?
As I said earlier, I don't remember much. We had a really good time. I think I've been to more restaurants than bars, actually, because we were told the food is amazing there, and I completely agree. We were just hunting for nice tapas restaurants every day, just walking around the street. I love walking a lot, so I didn't take any transportation, from A to B. Everything was walking. I love the park there. What's that park called? Campo de something?
Where were you staying in the hotel? Parque del Retiro.
It's the main area.
Where did
There's this huge park which is equivalent to the Hyde Park in London. I forgot the name. It's
Parque del Retiro, Parque del Buen Retiro.
Not that one though. There's another one. It starts with a C. It's
Casa de Campo.
Casa de Campo. Yes, that one. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Every morning I would wake up before sunrise, and I would run to the park. I'll run there before there's anybody there. So very, very cool, very beautiful.
Yeah, I used to. Funny enough, I studied in Madrid for 6 years. I'm not from Madrid, and I would go running in that same area. In my opinion, Madrid is the best city in Europe, and. You might say, Fernando, you're biased. Not really, because I'm not from there.
Well, I'm not going to disagree because I haven't been to all the places. But Madrid was really good. So we had a really good time there.
The weather is fantastic, even in winter. It's cold, but it's dry. So you can, put something on top of your skin and you're fantastic.
Yeah.
Sunshine. Food is amazing. If we had become friends before you were there, I would have given you a list of 25,000 places to go. Yeah. And in my opinion, people are super genuine in a way that... Since Madrid, at the end of the day, is the destination of many people that are emigrating from their own cities, no one is really from Madrid, really. So everyone is super open, ready to make new friends. And that spirit translates to, how you experience bars and how you interact with other people. So I'm very happy that you enjoy it. So you don't remember even one single name of a bar?
No, of course I do. I've been to... the bars that were recommended. So I've been to not all of them, to be honest. I didn't have much time there, but I've done as much as I could. I personally don't drink a lot, so I only chose the bars that I go to very carefully because I don't drink, and I don't like going to a bar, order a drink and not finishing a drink. So especially when you go to a bar and you don't know the people there. It's
Yeah.
kind of offensive. Like you go and order a drink and you don't finish a drink. So
Is it?
kind of, yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it's like an industry thing, you know, like if you go to a bar and you order a cocktail and you leave without finishing it. I mean, probably the bartender would think like, oh, maybe there's something wrong with the drink, or maybe the guest wasn't happy. At least that's what I perceive when I work behind the bar. So, so yeah, whenever I go, if I order a drink, I make sure that I finish it. I mean,
Yeah.
unless if I really don't like it. But otherwise, you know, of course, you know, it's a respectful thing, you know, like just like you go to a restaurant, you know, you order food and the chef present you with something and you don't finish it. It's the same feeling.
It is true, but can I tell you something? This is something that I have been pushed by other friends to change my approach in this, because I've been not only out of respect for the people making it, out of respect for humankind. I've always been taught that by my parents, Fernando, not everyone has food to eat, so when you have food on your plate, you finish the food on your plate.
Yeah.
And I apply that to everything. I've been working in the sales field for 12 years, which means normally I have 500 meals away from home between breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which is a massive amount. And again, I passed this philosophy to you know, I would go to a restaurant and I always say, and I'm sure you've experienced this. For me, it's every day is the same. It's an exaggeration, or it was. For the people seeing me, is the exception, because maybe I go visit him or her once per year. So they would try to, you know, be extremely generous. Appetizers, first, second. Oh, you don't try the sweet, you don't try the dessert. Come on, well, there is this liquor from my auntie that is making. I'm like, and then at a certain point, it was super hard for me to start saying no, which is, and it still breaks my heart, to be honest, because I like to eat and I like to drink. But I had to put a little bit of a barrier. Maybe I should just be a little bit more open my heart and say, please, my cholesterol is 470. Leave me alone. So when you go to these places, you've been used to success for such a long time. Do you still get excited, or is it still part of the job?
I don't think anybody get used to being successful. I don't see myself as being very successful. I think I have been on the right track. I have had successes, but as a human being, you know, it's never enough. You always want to try and achieve more, always want to improve yourself, always want to make sure that you're better than yesterday. So we don't take anything for granted. Even if we've won, you know, some awards in the past, doesn't mean, okay, now we're on the top and that's it. We always look forward. We always make sure we improve ourselves.
The fact that you give it for granted, let's say that attitude for you is normal, is the extraordinary part, especially because, I mean, I pass in front of Koa thousands of times because one of my best friends in Hong Kong used to live in front of the bar, and I've seen a line there forever. So the fact that your brain doesn't recognize that line, as maybe you don't even see it, for you it's something that is just there every day, and you need to keep the discipline of being good. Again, is maybe you don't realize, but for sure it's something that makes you successful. Is it the same for the team? Let's say, normally I've been in a sports team when I was younger. I've worked in companies, of course, and the dynamics are kind of the same. When you do a good year, the difficult thing is to come back the next day, or maybe the next day you rest because you have a hangover, but the day after, and you say, okay, now we need to have the same hunger. How do you keep that same level of tension with your team?
I think in the beginning, it was definitely something new. Like looking at the queue outside, it was not usual for us. I mean, if you've looked at the history of our bar, from the beginning, I would say the first 2 years we weren't really doing well. Like it was hard for us to even fill up the place. And after COVID, suddenly there was like a boom. There was a line. People start coming from all around the world. And it was new to us in the beginning. It took us a while to sort of get used to that. I think right now the team is in a very good place because they know what they're expecting on a day-to-day basis. And every day it's quite standard for us, quite consistent for us. So the team, they know what to prepare, how to deal with a certain situation. But in the beginning, it was very difficult for us to get used to, people waiting. We open at 6. We would have guests lining up as early as 4:00. And we also had experiences where, if you know where our bar is, it's on Shin Hing Street. So queuing from right outside our door all the way until Aberdeen Street. Yeah. We had that experiences in the past as well. So it's a bit daunting sometimes because our place is pretty small. And when it's full, the rest of the guests that couldn't come in, we put them on our virtual wait list. And some of them, they might have to wait for like 3 hours and 4 hours, and some of them probably wouldn't even get a chance to come in. So people had this expectation, like, okay, if I have to wait for 3 hours and 4 hours before I come in, it must be very, very good. They would have this very extra expectation before they come in. So that put a lot of stress and pressure on the team and on myself. But then we learn whatever is within our control, that's what we can do. Whatever is not within our control, we shouldn't worry so much about it. And obviously you cannot make everybody happy, but at least from our point of view, like anybody who walks into the door, we make sure that they have a good time. And obviously there are people, they may have, high expectations because our bar was opened as a neighborhood style bar, someplace casual. You come in, have a nice tequila, have a nice mezcal. We make cocktails with these products. And it's all about, hospitality, make sure we give our guests a good time, a good experience. It was never meant to be, like aiming to be the number one bar in Asia, all of that. That to us is icing on the cake, like if you do things right, eventually you will be rewarded. So we weren't expecting our bar to actually rank that high. But it happened, and we were very grateful. And but like I said earlier, we don't take anything for granted. If we got something like that, we made sure that we do our best to make our guests happy when they come in.
Look, there are so many things I want to dissect there, but I have been to your bar 3 times, and the reason why it has been only 3 times is because I am allergic to queuing. And the 3 times I've been there, I'm gonna tell you my biggest compliment. I went with one of my friends, and I thought that from the interaction with the bartender, they were close friends. And then I went to him, how do you know this guy? No. And it was just the vibe was like a super friendly atmosphere, which is what you should have when you're drinking mezcal and tequila.
Absolutely.
And so it would have been heartbreaking if you lost that feeling. But even when you had the line, and this is another the second big compliment, I was able to convince some of your guys to let me take home of my friend's home some mezcal Negroni in a plastic cup.
Yeah.
And I was super happy. And the guys you'd see that the guys in the door were displeased about the fact that you could not get in. So the vibe was super, super good. And I really hope that people understand that it was a neighborhood bar, that for you it must be a little bit heartbreaking. I want to ask you something. I want to share with you a reflection that I had with Lorenzo the other day. I'm from Spain. We are, I believe, statistics say, the country with more bars per capita in the world. We are a culture that we live outside, and the bartender has been the psychologist when psychology was something taboo that you could not talk about. You would go to a bar because you like the person behind the bar, and they would know your kid's name, the fights you had with your wife, your birthday, what you liked, and when it was time to send you home because you drank too much. Then bartending switched a little bit more into the experience, into I wanna be wowed.
Yeah.
And then because of the rise, because in my opinion that was a wrong read on what social media was. Then people realized that social media is about people, so bartending became again something about the person behind the bar. So Koa is a concept, but everyone knows your name. Everyone, when I've been talking to people about the next guest for the podcast, and I say Jay Khan, there is no need to explain who you are. How do you experience this level of celebrity, at least in a local with the local range and within the industry?
I don't know. I never had that feeling, to be honest. I don't know how people outside view me, but at least from my point of view, I don't feel like I am a celebrity or actually even close to it, to be honest. Like I mean, the number one reason why we got into this business, if you look at my experience in the bar, it's almost 20 years. And 20 years ago, there was no such thing as celebrity bartending. It was all about, authentic, honest bartending.
Yes.
You learn and you do all the dirty work, and you climb the ranks. And back then it was difficult than what it is now, because now you have like hundreds of bars in Central alone, and if you quit one job, there is another one waiting for you, because staffs are in such big demand. But back in the day, we only had a limited amount of bars, like good bars, and in order to get there, it will take you a lot of work. And once you're there, you have to prove yourself every single day, and this is what bartending was to me. And for me, being where I am today, it's not a process. I mean, it's through a process. It didn't happen overnight. So that's why maybe this is the reason why I don't feel like, okay, I am a celebrity, because it happens so slow and so gradually, that I actually never felt like I'm in that sort of position, to be honest.
No. It's interesting what you say, and it makes total sense. Was there any sort of steep change on your lifestyle when you actually got the awards with Koa? Because I imagine that if it's not on the celebrity side, the practicality of every day, the guest shifts, the traveling, and everything that comes with that, weird hours, eating wherever, having less control of the routine. How did you manage to make the shift? Because you've said it in another podcast. It's not that you are less fit. You are more fit now than you were before.
Yeah, I think it's because of the stress that I got from the bar. Like I said earlier, when we opened Koa, it didn't do well in the beginning. So that added a lot of pressure on me. I started gaining a lot of weight, and I used to like binge eating after work, and I would go home and I would eat and sleep. The next morning, wake up and back to work. So it was like a cycle for me. So I became very unhealthy. Although I didn't really smoke or drink a lot, I was just having a very stressful, experience because of the bar. And I think during COVID, I started to reflect on myself. Everything slowed down during COVID, and I looked at myself like, oh shit, like I gained so much weight. I was 125 kilo. From like 70 something kilo all the way to 125 kilo. That's how much I gained.
75.
Yeah.
I
was somewhere between 75 and 80. I forgot. Now I lost. Now I'm back. Now I'm around 85. I feel like this
you
is
look fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it's no. But
Thank you.
You look. I think 75 for you.
Yeah. I don't want to
be
be too skinny. Because I'm tall, and I feel like this is sort of like a healthy weight for me. But I used to be very skinny, and I gained so much weight. I went up to 125 kilo. I can show you some pictures later if you want to see it. That's when I realized, oh shit, what's happening to me? Like I'm gaining so much weight, and I felt very unhealthy. I have a son, and I play with him sometime, and he's young. He's now 9. He's very active, and sometimes I play with him. I feel tired. So it really sort of bothered me. And because COVID, everything slowed down, bars were forced to close, and I had more time to think about my health and my life. So it sort of like paused my, bartending life for a while. that's when I realized I should take care of myself and do something about it. And that's when I decided to start, adopting a healthier lifestyle, doing more activities like, hiking and running. And then from that process, I lost 45 kilo in 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah. And, I've been there, I've done it, back in the day, being a bartender, you're always surrounded with people and alcohol. If you ask me, do I enjoy drinking? I would say no, honestly. I like trying stuff. Like if you give me a new product and say, hey, this is my product, do you want to try? I love trying because that's what I do. That's my sort of my trade. But I don't like committing and finishing one whole drink anymore. I just don't like that feeling of drinking so much anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in between. I get what you mean. I'm in between. The before in my case it was like the pain of the day after, the pain of the effect was getting bigger and bigger, while the pleasure kind of like stayed the same. And now the difference is that I'm finding pleasure in actually not drinking. Just this weekend I didn't drink, and if my mind is clear, I can think, I can have several things in my head at the same time. So I totally understand, and I don't have awards, but I'm telling you, I live the life of someone that is #1 best buddy in the world because I'm traveling every week, and it's the only thing that keeps me sane. So I get totally what you mean. 45 kilos in 6 months.
Yeah.
You run a lot, man.
If you ask me how I did it now, I am surprised too, like how all that happened. I think it was such a organic process. All I did was just reduce my calorie intake, cut down on sugar. I didn't eliminate sugar altogether. I just reduced it. I ate a little bit less carbs, and I started doing more, hiking and then eventually running. That was it. And then, I was just losing and losing and losing. At one point, I'm like, is this even healthy? I felt really good though. Like I didn't feel like I was, lacking of energy. It was the opposite. I felt like I'm more active, more healthy. And every day I felt like going out to hike or run. So I thought, it's healthy. But in 6 months I lost 45 kilo.
All right.
I don't know how that happened.
Keep it away, man. Keep it away. You are an example. To be honest, last year I went up to, I don't even know, because I stopped weighting myself after a while. So it's somewhere between 115 and 120. Same, because of stress.
You can't be 120 kilo.
I can.
I mean, are you now?
No, now I'm like 102, something like this.
Yeah.
No, now I'm okay. No,
because when I was 120, I was fat.
The thing is this, when you are tall and you are a little bit heavy, I put weight in a way that makes me look strong a little bit.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, you feel kind of proud until you realize that going upstairs, it's a little bit tough. And running after the kids gets a little bit, I'm like, I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
So with the oxygen bottle behind. So no. I'm happier than this, but I want to come down still. I've never been below 94 kilo since I was 16. So I think 94 is good for me. Let's go. Let's get out of uninteresting details of my life, and let's go. I want to ask you something about not about Hong Kong. We'll get to that later, but about Goa in Shanghai. Now, what is the different mindset that you need to adopt to open a bar in Shanghai rather than a bar in Hong Kong? Because Hong Kong is, especially central area, it feels like a neighborhood. So it makes sense to fit the idea of a neighborhood bar in Central. How did the adaptation to Shanghai come about? How was the experience to open a bar in Shanghai? What year did you do it?
First time we opened was about 3 years ago.
Okay. Wow, that was a very nice moment.
Yeah. So actually, we signed the lease pre-COVID. We didn't know COVID was on the way. We signed the lease, and then COVID happened, and then we put the project on hold. We thought, okay, let's wait until COVID is gone and we can resume the project. But then it took us, how long COVID was, lingering and lingering and lingering, and then we were like, shit, let's just open the bar. So the first time we opened Koa Shanghai was quite a big challenge for me because I could not be there personally to look after the project. So everything was done virtually from my side. And it was online through, Zoom. So the place had to open because we couldn't wait any longer. There's money involved there. We hired people. So we had to open the place. So once the place was opened, after maybe 6-7 months after opening, that's when I actually first got to go to my own bar. So it was a weird time altogether. So the place didn't really came out exactly how I envisioned because, doing it virtually, it's not easy because you need to be there present and you need to be in that moment, feel the place and everything. I couldn't go through that process. But then last year in December, the government basically started to do a renewal project in that area. So they closed everybody down in that area, including our bar. Then we had a second chance. We had a discussion. Either we don't open, or if we do, let's do something better than the previous one. That's when we decided to go for the latter, and then we opened the new Koa Shanghai just this June. And it's a 4-story concept. Each floor we have a different concept, different menu, different music, and but it's all connected. It's still Koa, but then we divide the concept into smaller concepts where you get a different experience. For example, like the first floor, it's a taqueria, which is a place where we specialize in tacos, and then the drinks are a little bit more simple, more approachable, more street style. Think of drinks like slushies and micheladas, but with our own take. And then you go to the second floor, it's called Cantina. Cantina is like a, traditional Mexican bars where you have, big gatherings. So the place invites people to stand and sit. We have a bigger food menu there. The cocktails are a bit more classic and traditional. Then you go to the third floor, which is more like, Koa Hong Kong. And that place is a bit dimly lit. The drinks are a bit more adventurous. Then you go to the fourth floor, which is the mezcaleria. And the mezcaleria is where, we have all our specialty agave spirits. We have a communal table. So if people like to, share their, knowledge and experience of drinking mezcal and tequila, they can all sit together and enjoy together. So 4 concepts in one building, basically. Yeah.
Super nice. I next time I go to Shanghai, more than 2 days.
Yeah.
I've been in September twice, and each time 2 days. Yeah. And I want to check it out. I'm super passionate about Mexico as part of let's say Hispanoamerica, but I've never been there. And you've been, from what I read and hear, many times. My question to you is, when you go to Mexico, I imagine you have suppliers and you have friends who take you places.
Yeah.
How do Mexicans celebrate someone that had the number 1 best bar in Asia based in a product that they have? How is that relationship?
We get so much love and so much support from Mexicans all around the world. Like wherever I go, sometimes people, they come to me and they say, hey, you know what? You don't know me, but I know you. I love what you guys are doing. I'm Mexican, and what you are doing in Hong Kong, they just show the love and appreciation, basically. So we get that love as well, from Mexican people. And whenever I go to Mexico, I mean, now that I've been there, I don't know how many times, I know a lot of people there. But I remember the first time when I went there, I didn't know anybody. It was not that long ago. It was like 2015 or 2016. I went there for the first time, and I just contact people on Facebook, like some of the distillers, some of the brands that I really like. I contact them, for example, like Fortaleza and G4, Ocho, like these brands. I contact them online and say, hey, you know what? I really love your product, and can I come and visit your distillery? And they were so welcoming. They actually came, picked me up from my hotel. They took me to their distillery. They showed me everything, and they connected me with other distilleries. And from one person to another person to another person, I start making more friends within the industry. And now whenever I go back, I try and visit the same people and also try and meet new people at the same time. Yeah.
Nice, super. Look, I'm very happy that mezcal and tequila are having like a golden age now.
Yeah.
They're becoming like the drink of fashion. I don't know what you had to do in that, but I'm happy to give you a lot of merit because I liked tequila and especially mezcal. Whenever a spirit has lot of smoky edge, I enjoy the same in whiskey, and when it comes to mezcal, the same.
You'll be surprised, like a lot of people in Hong Kong, they actually love mezcal because they love whiskey, and there are whiskeys that are peaty.
Yes, exactly.
So they can sort of like resonate, and the way we promote mezcal to them, it's like, think of maybe because they love spirit already.
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer. Plus it's smoky, and they can really relate to what they're drinking. So I think more and more people like drinking mezcal now, especially whenever they come to Koa. I think most people who walk into the doors, they know what we're doing already, so it's not that hard to convince them to try. But then there are some people that will walk in and say, hey, I don't want agave spirits. That's not what I like. Do you have gin, or do you have this, or do you have that? So we try to convince them in a nice way, in a soft way, and say, hey, how about try it? If you don't like it, I'll change for you. I can make you what you want, but at least try this, like that's what we do. That's what we specialize. We don't force them, of course. And if they are open to, being convinced, then we have a chat with them. We explain to them a little bit. And so many people through that experience, through that sort of like process, now they come back and they only drink mezcal. And some of them actually also went to Mexico to meet the producers through, like the people that we know. For example, they ask us like where to go in Mexico. I'm going to Oaxaca, I'm going to Jalisco. Do you have any contacts? I want to go see how the product is made. And so many people actually through, our bar, they actually went to Mexico and met the producers at the same time. So which is amazing for us. Yeah.
For your information, I at the beginning of this podcast, the last meeting of the week, the first few episodes, I did them before we had the Estrella Galicia here. I did them with a bottle of mezcal that we were actually drinking, until I realized it was a very bad idea because I lost track of what I had to ask. So I said, okay, just for the sake of the final product, I need to stop doing this. But it was so much fun because at the beginning, maybe I didn't know what I was doing. Excuse me. The guest sometimes was nervous. And I tell you, it was like 100% ratio of success. Shot of mezcal, conversation, fantastic. Yeah. But I had to stop, unfortunately. Now, mezcal has been having a golden era, so as we were saying. Throughout my years, I've seen drinks come and actually stay. I experienced the arrival of Jägermeister. I remember when Jägermeister would give away shots for free in bars with girls dressed in leather pants and leather over leather tops. Well, of course, I've seen the arrival of Red Bull, but that is not, let's say, it's not the spirit. I've seen the boom of gin and tonics in Spain and then in other places. What else? I've seen the boom of Aperol, which now it's ubiquitous, but 10 years ago it was not around. Maybe in Hong Kong, yes, but because it's very international. But Aperol now it's everywhere. Everyone likes spritz. But 10 years ago it was in Italy, and 20 years ago it was only in Venice. Now, I know that other spirit makers are trying to push their product into becoming the next fashionable thing. I know for a fact that there is this big group in the Philippines that owns the biggest distilleries of brandy. They want to make it like a cocktail drink. Grappa in Italy, for example. The Grappa was like a grandfather drink that now, the demographics are changing, and they're pushing to be more like a mixer. what do you think the next thing can be, and what do these producers need to do in order to be successful?
I mean, there's so many directions you can go, to be honest. But because now we have more cocktail bars than ever, brands, they try to make sure they engage with these bars to make products that can sell in cocktail bars. Yeah,
Sorry,
no
this
worries.
is sorry. This is normally I tell my guests not to shut this down, but today I am. It's my brain that doesn't work. Sorry about this.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so I mean, what I was saying is like there are products. For example, you said like grappa used to be, something that old people would drink. Now you see them in cocktail bars because they're positioning their brands towards cocktail bars because they know there's money involved. Not only for that, but only if you look within the agave industry, right? Like if you know the basics of how mezcals are made and how tequilas are made, for example. Mezcals are still made in a very, old school way. Like the agaves are roasted in the ground, whereas tequila is more modernized, so the agaves are steamed. But because mezcal is getting so much attention now in the cocktail world, some tequila brands are now making their tequila smoky, for example.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Why? Because they know there is a market and they know bartenders like using these products in their cocktails. So we don't have to look far into grappa or Baigio, for example. There's pretty much every single spirit in the world right now. They want to get their hands onto being used in cocktails, for example. So same thing, you'll see this happening within the agave industry at the same time. So I'm not surprised. I mean, wherever money is involved, people will go towards that direction.
Let's see. It's very interesting how the industry evolves from a product perspective, but also from a demographic perspective. Because I've seen, in my opinion, from the conversation we're having and the vibe that you give out and other podcasts that I've heard in which you speak, you have a very balanced and, I would say, a reasonable position of regarding health. I have this thing because I love healthy habits and I love improving, but sometimes I think that there is a new generation that takes health sort of like religion, and within every religion there is preachers as well, and now everyone is like taking the new dogma, and that dogma is going to spread. The young generation, they drink much less. They behave in a different way. How do you think the bar experience will adapt to these young people? Maybe they just don't come to the bar. I don't know.
I don't think that's gonna happen. Like bars are still a place where people like to gather and socialize. What I see changing, I mean, it's already changing, to be honest. Like you see more and more bars now have a very solid non-alcoholic cocktail program, or they do more like low ABV cocktails, like cocktails with low alcohol, for example. So that's already happening in a small scale. And I feel like that's going to basically explode, and you will see more and more in pretty much every single bar. I feel like a good bar needs to have a little bit of everything now. Like you need to have a really solid non-alcoholic cocktail program, low ABV cocktails as well, because you need to be able to cater to, all walk of life. Like now when you have a big group coming in, for example, that's one of the reasons why we opened the Savory Project. So the Savory Project is our other bar, which is in Staunton Street.
You read my mind because that was going to go exactly
there.
Yes, thank you
no
for
worries.
the segue.
So, I mean, obviously the core concept is making adventurous cocktail using savory ingredients, but a big part of what we do is non-alcoholic drinks at the same time. But we don't make those non-alcoholic drinks something, like on the side. It's a very big part of our cocktail program, like how it's made, the whole process of the drink, the thought process, and the preparation of the drink. It's exactly like how we make our cocktails. It takes the same amount of time to make those drinks, actually. So, and the reason why we do that is because we do not want people to feel like they're being left out. If they, for example, don't want to drink because they maybe because of health reasons, but they have to go out and socialize with their friends. So what can they do? Either they order a soft drink or a lime soda, or they get made something off menu, like whatever the bartender has, right? That's again, that's doesn't give you a really good experience. But imagine if you have like a solid cocktail, non-alcoholic cocktail program on your menu, and if you can deliver it, right? If you can execute it, if you can deliver it, and if the guest likes it, that's a bonus. And that's exactly why at the Savory Project, we've put a lot of emphasis on making these very special non-alcoholic drinks, because we want people to feel like they don't miss out on that experience when they come to the bar.
Savory pace is genius, but it's very bold.
It is. I mean, if you look at Koa, it's also a very bold concept. Imagine like 70 years ago when we first opened, a lot of people told us not to do it because it's agave and people don't understand agave, and it's a very risky, bold concept. But I mean, I guess this is just something we like to do. We like to challenge ourselves, and the Savory Project is the same thing. It's just something that keep our creativity, going forward.
Yes. How has the reception been? I've been twice to Savory Project with my pregnant wife that had non-alcoholic cocktail, by the way. So
nice.
So
I hope she likes it.
Look. The thing is this. I think it is a different ceremony than the one that you have going to a bar in which maybe you're looking to have 2, 3, 4 drinks. I think the number of drinks probably is a little smaller. You have 1, you have 2 drinks, at least in my case. You can, guys, when you go to Savory Pay, order 10 at least. But they are so special. They're so striking that makes sense to sit, enjoy, have conversations. I think it's a place that the gathering is more important than just the consumption. I don't know if you did it like this, but that's how I lived it. So I liked it a lot.
Sorry to cut you. That's a really great point when you talk about the gathering is more important than the consumption. At the Savory Project, if you look at the bar design, we have created the bar without having any boundary between the bartender and the guest. So if the guest wants to go behind the bar and watch closely how the bartender is making the drink, they can do that at the Savory Project. And we have a station where people can literally come behind the bar and drink cocktails at the bar counter inside the bar, actually. So we've created the bar in a way where we, like you said, the gathering part, like the engagement part. We also want, people who don't know each other, to start talking to each other and make it into like a nice, fun place. And so all those points that we felt like we had to tick, all the boxes that we have to tick, we try to do that at the Savory Project. But at the same time, we wanted to do something that's a bit different, something that's also challenging for us. So it just keep us, on the right path of learning and being creative. And that's the reason why we like doing these bold concepts.
It's also interesting the fact that when we were speaking about at the beginning of our conversation about the operations of Koa, the word you said was consistency. In the Savory Project is creativity. Now it's already set up and everything, but again, I will ask you something that I asked Antimo from Estro one time when he was sitting where you're sitting now. How easy it is for you to change the hat of consistency with the hat of creativity, because the mindset is totally different. On one side, you need to execute and be organized and be process driven, and on the other side, I don't even know how you imagine the drinks that you have. Do you have any? Do you just sit down, go crazy, try to see if things stick to the wall, or you have a process to that creativity of creating a menu?
Yeah, we do actually. We have a tool that we use that's called the Cocktail Innovation Tool. It's a few pages PowerPoint that we created for our team. And also we share that with people who are not, in our company. We share with them if they're interested. It's basically a process, a creative process, like how we at the bar create a new cocktail. Like, what's the procedure? What is the what are the steps, and how do we pair, let's say one ingredient with other ingredients. So you get a lot of information in that tool basically. So we use that as a team whenever we create a new cocktail. And also, like, when you talked about creativity and consistency, I don't think they're two separate things. Like, you can use them together. Being creative is being creative. Like, consistency is something you can apply to being creative. For example, consistency is not something we only use for making drinks, but also on a day-to-day basis, how we execute our operation. From the moment the guest walks into the door, we need to greet them, and then we need to sit them down, and we need to, for example, present the menu, explain the menu. Every time when they order a cocktail, when we bring the cocktail to the guest, we have to make sure that we briefly explain to them what they're drinking, because most of them, we don't like the feeling where you go to a restaurant, right? Let's say like a cha chan teng, in Hong Kong, like you order some food and they just, land the food on the table and they just walk away, right? That's an example I always give my staff. Like, we don't want to provide that sort of experience. We don't want to like bore the guest by explaining too long. So we keep it nice and short, where the guests know what are the main sort of features of the drink, so they understand what they're drinking. And then we leave them alone. And if they have questions, extra questions, they're always welcome to ask, and then we will sit down with them and we'll explain to them. So we have this process from walking into the bar to ordering and explaining, and when they leave, we make sure that we greet them again. So that's the consistency that we apply in our bars. So being creative is a completely different thing, but you can also be consistently creative, so you can always apply that term to being creative at the same time.
Yes. No, it's another of the booms that I experienced when I was growing up, living in Madrid, was the boom of this new wave of molecular cuisine, Ferran Adrià, and so on. And the most important, interesting thing about Ferran Adrià, apart from the fact of just the exercise of trying to understand him, because his pronunciation in Spanish is terrible. He's a genius. But when I need a translator, the subtitles when he's speaking, is how he structure the creative process. Like, I'm gonna try this, and then I'm gonna write it down, take pictures, do everything, and everyone has its own method. But he said creativity is a discipline, so you need to take it as something that you need to study, you need to improve. It's a process, and so on. And he took it to the next level. I mean, he used to close the restaurant for 6 months and just invent 30 new dishes every year. It's insane. The level of sensitivity, what you said about having a clear idea on how to bring in the guest, explaining but not too much, because you're gonna have clients that like me, that I'm happy left alone after the hello, how you doing, and there are some other clients that they go because they want the full narrative. That I can see how the 20 years of experience in F&B in Hong Kong shaped you, because you need to be in the bar to have the sensibility. This you cannot study in any school. By the way, I'm putting words in your mouth. If you don't agree, you can contradict me.
No, I think you're on point.
That also, again, I'm adventuring myself, might give you, hopefully, a sort of like a vision on what the city will become, because now we are in a very weird time in Hong Kong. I mean, sometimes I think it was my fault, because I moved here in 2019. I've been living the best era of the city. Very sarcastically, I say this, by the way. I came here because I was in love with the city. I'm staying because I'm still in love with the city, and I'm curious to ask someone like you that has been here thick and thin. How do you think the city is going to evolve, and the scene in F&B is going to evolve? Because now we are in a sort of like a chaotic period. Many places closing, many people leaving. The demographic of the city changing as well. Where do you see at the street level that this is going?
I know a lot has happened the last few years, but I always feel like Hong Kong is a kind of place that never wants to stop or sleep. There's always something new happening in Hong Kong. If you look at the period that COVID, for example, like a lot of the places got shut down, but then a lot of the places got open at the same time. And that's the thing about Hong Kong. Like Hong Kong just is so vibrant and so energetic all the time. You know, even the period after COVID when we reopened to the world, it took us a while to get back to where we are. I believe we're very close to where we are, you know, like in comparison. It took us a while because I think Hong Kong took it for granted in a way, because Hong Kong has been a destination for a lot of people. And I feel like we didn't really promote Hong Kong the way the rest of the world did. Hong Kong was autopilot all the time. You know, it's a place people would come anyway. But I think because of that, because we took it for granted, I think people will start going to other places. But I think now Hong Kong is finally, you know, pushing the city again. Like they're bringing big events back to Hong Kong. So I feel like Hong Kong is, it's almost there, you know, where it used to be. And regarding bars and restaurant, I don't feel like Hong Kong will ever stop. I think it's just a matter of time, you know, something closed, something will open again. But also the city itself is such a lovely city. People, they don't realize, but I've traveled a lot myself, and I feel like I've not been to a place like Hong Kong, to be honest, because Hong Kong, you get a little bit of everything. You can live any lifestyle you want in Hong Kong. You can, if you like going to the beach, there is a beach like maybe 20 minutes taxi ride from here. If you like the mountain life, if you like going hiking, there's so many nice places in Hong Kong, like nature, you can go there. If you live the city life, you have that. If you like food and beverage, we have all of that. If you like a bit of culture, we have that too, for example. So I think Hong Kong has so much to offer. But I think it's just like doing it the right way, promoting it the right way, and not take anything for granted. Yeah.
Look, I think it's the right message. It's the right message. Jay, I think for the guests, this episode is going to be super interesting, and for me, it's been super nice talking to you. You've made my day, because I explained to you things before that I cannot say in public, but you really made my day. You've been super cool in doing this, and I just hope that next time I go, the line is not too long, because I'm going to make a point of visiting you very, very soon.
We can talk about that offline, don't worry.
All right. Guys, this episode is always published on a Friday, so have a happy weekend, be happy. Go to Koa or Savory Project. Both have a different point and different time, so you can go one before the other. And then it's in my to-do list now to go to the Shanghai one. This is before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, everyone. Be happy. Much love. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you.